All right, we're live on Padres Talking Padres, and Jay mysteriously is absent again. Oh, his
Oh, that
in-laws are
Jay.
in town. Oh, and they're Yankee fans, so
Yeah.
double the reason not to be there. Right, Michael? Is Michael still here? Uh,
He was earlier, but yeah, he should be here somewhere. So
okay. Well, there's one person here, so it could be
yeah,
Michael.
yeah.
But, if they don't beat the Dodgers this weekend, sweep them, then it doesn't mean anything. I'm just going to say that. If they don't sweep
Oh, the Yankees
If the
don't
Yankees
sweep.
don't sweep the
Yeah,
Dodgers, then
yeah.
whatever,
I got you. I got
whatever.
you.
It'll be the World Series all over again. All right, we're
Yeah,
here.
I'm a little lax on the schedule. I have to admit, when you said that, I'm like, wait a minute, the Padres are playing the Pirates. Like, did I miss something? Or
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just
that's okay.
busting
No,
Michael's balls there.
hey, that's one thing about interleague, Jack, is you oh, I don't care who's playing who, you're always voting for the AL. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it could make a difference in the end. Who knows who it
with the
is,
wild
but
cards and stuff like that. Luckily, the
yeah,
Padres beat up on the National League.
yeah, and
They
they can't
struggle
win
against
against
the
the American
American League.
League.
I have no idea why, unless there was a lot of road games in the American League. But no, they lost to Seattle. They got swept by Seattle at home and got swept by the Jays on the road. They lost 2-3 to the Yankees. They beat
And the
Cleveland,
Angels, yeah,
and they beat 2-3 for
yeah.
the. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this team. It's crazy. A lot of people angry about yesterday's game.
More so than I can even imagine why, Jack.
Yeah.
I mean, I stole your thunder, right? I put my name as 31-23, 2 games back. For crying out loud! I mean, if you listen to the talk shows, if you listen to the radio, you listen to
Hey, Oz.
or watch the Twitter. Oh my gosh! I mean, it's like the ship is sinking and they're nowhere to be found. And I'm like, we're still 8 games above 500 and 2 games back of the first place team at the time.
Yeah.
What is with people?
I
Good
mean,
grief! Yeah, was it a bad loss? Of course, it was a
Yeah.
bad loss. But you're going to have probably a half a dozen to 10 of those every year.
Yeah, I said I put on Twitter disappointing loss. I mean, it was disappointing, but it wasn't like, oh my God, people are thinking the season's over. I get it. We don't know what's going on with King. If King's gone for the year, that's a big blow. I mean, it just is. But still, you gotta figure out something. And I don't think it's Hart. I just don't. I just don't think it's him. Maybe he comes around. I don't know. But yesterday, people are saying, why didn't Suarez come in the 8th with 2 outs? I go, but the problem is, if he came in and gave up a run and it's a tie, you go to extra innings, who do you have left to
Well,
pick?
not only that, the big thing for me, and one of the things I wanted to cover on our show here was, can people at least understand that they don't know everything that's going on as far as pitchers' arms? And, I mean, it's right out there. Suarez has pitched 6 out of the last 8 games. So just because a guy's had a day off doesn't mean like, oh, wow, he's ready to go another 2 or 3 games in a row. You can't keep burning these guys. And me, we were texting along with Jay, and I said, look, the bottom line is you got all those guys on the roster. When it's their turn, they got to step up and do their job. But you know what? They didn't do it, and it wasn't just Peralta. God, this need that we have to singly point to one guy, like that's the problem. He's the problem. Man, I can go through that whole game and tell you the problems. I mean, the bottom line is Hart couldn't get through. And then you had a series of relievers who came in and didn't quite do it. Adam was not his regular self. Wild pitched the first guy, let the tying run in. Manny made an error on a ground ball double play. And, Peralta gave up a walk to the 9-hitter and had to face 1 and 2. And, it goes on. I mean, the bottom line is everybody's got to do their job at some point. And
well, if Manny makes the play, at least gets the lead runner.
Yeah.
We're talking about a different ball game, and he's got 10 errors already.
Yeah.
I mean, he only had 8 or 9 last year. He's already at 10, and it seems like it's the same error where he kind of bobbles the ball or it gets under his glove.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it was frustrating. Like I said, with Peralta, it bothered me that I go, the guy's hitting 143. Let him hit it. Let him hit it. I mean, you don't want to face the guy that's is Babe Ruth coming up next. I mean, he's just crushing everything he gets a hold of. Of course, the first pitch, boom. And it's like, oh God.
Yeah, but the problem is though, Jack, you can go the other way. If you go with the let him hit it and he throws a meatball over the middle of the plate. Well, now we're singing the song of "Gee, me Christmas." We let a 143er, we fed him a fastball right down the middle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let him hit it.
Can't win. I always say the bullpen can't win unless they go 3 up, 3 down. That's the only way.
Well, the way
otherwise,
I agree with you, but they weren't even close. The pitches, the ball. I go, what are we doing here? I mean, he's not. It's like you're pitching around Ohtani. I don't know what's going on here.
But I think the thing is though, Jack, to the bigger issue is that Peralta is on a short rope now. I mean, he's already basically the mop-up guy in a lot of games. And quite honestly, he would not have been used in that position. But again, I go back to a lot of people are chastising Schilt on the decision. It's like, okay, so you put Adam out there who's just been as regular as sunshine. I mean, the guy just goes out there and does his job. I mean, he has a rough day. That's just un-Jason Adam-like. I don't care who you are. I'm sure Schilt, always has a plan in the back of mind, but he's probably going, crap, I wasn't expecting to have to go to, the guy I was going to let close today, Estrada. Now I got to go. I go get him, and now we're behind too. So, a lot of fight in that game, and look, I don't care. Any team's got bats in their hands, they're dangerous. The Marlins have got some young players that can hit.
They do.
And the bottom line is, when you lose, 10-8, pitching didn't do its job. The offense did this time, but they've been the problem for a week. So I don't think this is the kind of clubhouse is going to sit there and start pointing fingers, because they better not, because everybody has failed at one time.
It was a team loss.
Team loss.
Yeah. Like you said, I the only thing I questioned Schilt was when he brought Adams out again. I go, God, he didn't have it. He gave up a couple of hits. He was all over the place. Then he gave up a hit, and then he hit the guy in the head. I said,
well, he hit the guy in the head, and then he got the grounder.
And after he hit the guy in the head, you could tell he felt bad. Yeah. Obviously, when you hit a guy in the head, if you have any kind of heart at all, you're going to feel bad about that. I mean, you're not Bob Gibson or Don Drysdale where you're trying to hit a guy in the head. I mean, it's just it's one of those things.
I think the bigger issue, though, Jack, again, is you can't just keep having 4 guys from the bullpen pitch every game. The lack of length from our starters is starting to get to them. I mean, good thing we got a day off, but now they're playing, I think it's 25 out of the next 26 days or something like that. And, hope those, all those bullpen guys are icing their arms and, and not playing catch with their kids or whatever, because it's going to be a long haul. And, with the uncertainty of King, you don't know about Darvish. 5 innings in the near future here is not really good enough. We need to get 6, sometimes even a 7. And look, this is when, to me, you find out who your guys are. It's time for Dylan Cease to throw 7 innings. It's time for Vasquez to throw 6 or 7 innings. Your regular guys that are going out there, they got to start putting some innings.
Vasquez went 6 1/3 last time, so that, or 6 2/3, 6 1/3. I mean, after
I got to tell you, of all the starters except for King, he's probably been the most consistent.
And people like when he gave up gave up 2 runs or 3 runs in the first inning.
Yeah.
And people on Twitter, when are we gonna get rid of this guy? I go, get rid of him because he doesn't strike out a lot of people. I go, he's winning games. He keeps us in the games. I mean, I think he had one really bad.
That's what a starting pitcher's job is not to win the game. Yeah, every once in a while it's nice to throw a shutout, but it's to keep you in the game. That's Mike Schilt, talking right there. Like, look, if the guy keeps us in the game, it's our job to win it. But, everybody's expecting everybody to be Tarek Skubal, like, oh, we got to go out there and strike out 15 and, go 8 innings, if not a complete game, and limit them to 2 hits. And it's like, man, people, it's just not that easy, man.
No, there's only so many pitchers in the league that can do that.
Yeah. And if they do it once or, if they do it once or twice out of, 10 starts, That's pretty good. Like I know the definition of a quality start has changed a little bit, but you know what?
And
You
now
give
I
me,
think now it's just 3 innings.
yeah. But if you give me 6 innings and keep up to three runs or less, then to me you've done your job. You've kept your ball club in the game, and so again, I think way overreaction on yesterday's game. You got to look, and again, that's why I put my namesake up there. We're 8 games over 500. Come on, we're 8 games over 500. We're 2 games out of the first place.
Right. Behind a team
we,
that has a $393 million payroll.
Yeah. They were talking not to get into the guys up north too much, but they were talking today that the team up north has $110 million on the disabled list right now, which is more than 7 clubs in Major League Baseball have payroll. So
that's crazy.
Yeah,
and a lot of that's deferred.
Yeah. And your remark about pitching, I was going to bring that up. It's like, so who's got that kind of pitching? The Dodgers are struggling, where their bullpen has been just getting blasted at times. The Arizona, oh my gosh, that bullpen's like, pure petroleum. You can't. How many times have they given up 5-6 runs in the last 2 or 3 innings?
Well, it's funny because
I think the Giants are a little bit better.
The other night I went to bed, but then I woke up in the 9th inning for the Padres. It was the game we were down 6-0, and Kolek, he wasn't getting killed, but he, it's just one of those seeing eye ground ball. Everyone was just getting through, and people
7 in a row.
Oh my God, what are we doing with this guy? And after that, he didn't give up another run. I don't think he gave up maybe one hit. I could be wrong.
7 grounders, and I'm not talking line drive grounders. I'm talking like 3 to 10 hoppers.
Yeah,
just finding the right place, and
it just
you got to watch the game and not the box score.
Yeah,
and Michael, you had it up there, but Michael's right. That's another reason why I've got it. 31 and 23 for crying out loud. Right now we're in the mix. You couldn't win it or lose it by now. Well, you're going to lose it. You could be the Colorado Rockies right now, but you can't win a wild card. You can't win a playoff berth in May. It doesn't happen. So
you can get eliminated in May if you're the Rockies.
That's what I said. So
yeah,
my big thing is look, I look at this as a third of the season, and you know what? Here we go. Do the math. If you can go 31 and 23 the rest of the year, you got 93 wins. I'm pretty sure that's going to be in the playoffs. So, however you get there,
I started to say when the Padres won the game, and I looked, I go, how did the Arizona lose? They were up 6-0, and then they lost 9-6 because they gave up 7 or 8 runs in the 8th inning or something like that. Because their bullpen is trash. They're both.
Yeah, they don't have anybody in that bullpen.
No,
and Corbin Burns has pitched really good the last 3 or 4 times out.
Yeah, it was his game. It was his game.
But
he pitched.
Yeah, he'd given up 2 runs in 7 innings. But everybody else, Gallen and Merrill Kelly's still out, and they just don't.
No,
Merrill Kelly's pitching.
Kelly's been pitching.
Is he back now?
He's been on my fantasy team, so he's been pitching.
Okay.
But
they just don't have any depth there, and don't get me wrong. To me, they're just kind of like the Dodgers. They can just beat the hell out of you. They can just score 15 runs at the snap of a fingers. It seems like they've kind of got more of the power game that we don't. And again, that's by design. But Dodgers win a lot of times with 5 hits, 6 hits. You look through the lineup and 0 for 4, 4 for 4, 1 for 3, 3 RBIs. That's 3-run homer. So
okay, I got it. Estrada for Naylor. Who says no?
No.
You wouldn't want
no.
Naylor 100 RBIs?
No, I'd love to have Naylor, but I'm not giving up Estrada. That's our future closer. Suarez is walking after this year.
I know Suarez has got. We have that new kid. What's his name? Is it Morgan?
Yeah.
One bad pitch.
Doing it.
One bad pitch.
I'm not doing it. Besides that, Naylor signed a big contract. We're not going to take on a contract. If we wanted him that bad, we would have signed for him anyway. So no.
Anyway,
again, we're not. I don't want to say dumpster diving, Jack, but the moves that are probably going to be made are not going to be like years past, where you're going to go out and get this Soto or something like that.
Well, it looks to me like they're trying to put Sheets in left field and just deal with him out there.
I think that would be a good move, but I don't know if I'm sold on who the DH is. I mean, because
we don't have one.
Well, no, I think my point is well, if it's Lockridge or Wade, then they should be out in the outfield.
Yeah, I agree.
And Campusano, I'm sorry, I've written the guy off so many times, and I continue to do it. The guy is a 4A, hitter. Because he can hit the crap out of AAA, and he can't hit anything when it comes to.
Well, to be fair, they're 6-1 when he plays. He starts.
Well, I don't get it. Somebody brought that up for Tyler Wade too, like 7-1 when he starts, and it's like that has nothing to do with it. Come on,
it's magic. Yeah. Michael mentions Cedric Mullins. I talked about him like a month ago. He should be pretty cheap. I mean,
Baltimore doesn't trade.
And that's why they keep losing.
Of course, and they're stuck in the mud, and they refuse to give in. I mean, they've got a stockpile of young players that are just sitting there waiting to come up, and yet
Cedric's walking after this year. Get something for him.
And again, we don't have anything left to trade, and so I'm not. You brought up Hunter Renfroe. I saw that he actually got his release today. I don't know. Maybe the Padres take a dive at him. I don't know. But I think it's going to be something like that. I don't think you're going to see, some starting left fielder for the next whatever years. Because I don't think Salas is going anywhere. I think DeVries, and there's a couple of others, Bateman and guys like that. Yeah, I don't think you're going to get nearly as much with those guys. So.
I would go with Hunter just because he's pretty good defensively, and he's got a cannon for an arm. So. Would I want him playing every day? I don't know, because I don't think Hayward. I was reading on Hayward; they don't expect him back into the earliest late June or July. So,
yeah, I think there's a little shenanigans going on there.
I
think this is a clubhouse move, and kind of like giving him a little bit more time. Collect a paycheck, be a clubhouse guy. Rah. I'm not sure if we ever see him play.
I told you, I said on the text, I go, I think he's done. I don't think they're going to bring him back. But he did. I'll give him credit though. He was working with Sheets before he went on the IL, how to play the outfield, and I said that's why I said I had no problem with why am I drawing a blank on his name? Hayward.
I had no problem with him being on the roster. You just don't want to see him out there every day.
Exactly, and I think he is a good team player, and he was. That's been his MO everywhere he's gone. That he's been a good player to have on your team. And if you could give any advice to Sheets, because Sheets is just not. I mean, he threw that guy out because he bobbled the ball, but he's just pounding the ball. So you got to keep him in the lineup.
I mean, you could when you talk about the Padres and the first third of the season, I mean, he's got to be right up there in the top 2 or 3 of most valuable player for this team. I mean, the guy has come through with some clutch hits. He's been pretty steady. He's showing that he can do it against lefties too. They got him under control for a couple more years. So
3 years.
I think the Padres are doing the right thing. It's like, well, let's find out if he can at least play out there. And the only way we're going to find that out is to give him more time and work with him. And, because who knows, maybe he's the left fielder from here on out, till, 3 more years go by.
2 Gold Glovers and then Sheets.
Yeah.
So.
but if he hits, some guys can work to become a good outfielder.
Tony
and to be fair, he was never an outfielder before. I believe he started as a first baseman. There's a lot of questions the offseason. I know we won't get into them too much because we're only third through this season, but the whole rise and where is he going to go, or if he goes, and got pitchers and things like that. But for now, I mean, you're very lucky. We've got a couple of these guys under control for the next couple of years, and Strada being one of them, and you got some young arms in the bullpen that you got, because it's going to reshape the bullpen. Suarez is walking after this year. I don't care if he falls apart, he's walking. So Estrada's probably one of the most valuable guys on the bullpen that I would not let go anywhere. It's just there's no way. Yeah.
Yeah, the bull. Well, you can still have Hoying. He's still out there, and he's supposed to be back. I guess he's rehabbing right now, so hopefully he comes back. That bullpen's going to get back to being okay. That's another guy to extend. Yeah. Reynolds, he's looked good. He's looked bad. I think he just needs to get in pitching shape.
Well, I think a lot of those guys when they come off the IL, I mean, you can simulate all you want. It's like spring training. You can go out there and do on the backyards and do all the pitching back there and everything, but it's a whole different thing when you get out in front of people. Yeah, I think we all acknowledge that the biggest problem that I don't know how we solve. I don't think they're going to eat his contract, but Wandy Peralta is just not doing it. I had hope there was about a couple weeks stretch there where he actually looked pretty good.
He went 14 innings without giving up a run.
And then I don't know if it's confidence or stuff or both.
Well, the problem with him is he's one of those guys that has to be perfect.
Yeah,
and if he's off by a little,
like you were talking about Kevin Hart, I agree. Yeah. When you top, but the thing is, Peralta's got like 95 mile an hour. Hart's biggest problem is he tops out at 90. So he's got to do like you said, be the spot guy and get people to swing in a pitch, but.
And it's just not happening. I mean, when you have a 5-run inning, and you go, okay, we're up 6-1, and then you turn around and you give the lead, give up it's a tie game, and you just go, oh my God, it's just like you can't do that.
Well, they pulled him when it was 6-3, but then Morgan came in, and now it's
have you seen the photo of the guy? They knew what he was going to pitch, and the guy at second base signaled because the guy.
I mean, it's signal stealing is as old as the game itself.
That's what they've said.
As long as you're not banging trash cans and looking at video, then
Well, once someone made a good point, he goes, "Well, that's where a rookie doesn't have isn't knowledgeable enough. Step off the mound, and change the pitch.
Or just for the fact that he doesn't hide it well, because
no."
You teach your base runners.
You could see it in his glove.
You teach your base runners at second base, how to look at the guy's grip of the ball and everything. And so, we talked before about Estrada, how he's got that thing, and he puts his whole fingers around it like that.
Yeah.
But he starts with where he would end up if it's that pitch, but he morphs to whatever. And the reason is because he can hide that better, because it's not like, oh, I got to like this, and now I got to put my hands like that. That's too telling, So, good coaches, good baseball players. They learn how to read pitchers. They, hey, that guy, every time he's going to throw a curveball, he moves to the first base side of the mound, So if you see him, scooting over to the first base side, then you know what's coming. So,
but I know it's early, but he has some electric stuff. So I have high hopes for him. It would be nice to get another reliever. And I like the fact that after he gave up the 3-run homer, he did come back and get the next 3 guys out. So
a lot of these guys come in though, Jack. I think the biggest thing is they come in and they just pipe one. I mean, even starting pitchers do that. I mean, look what Pivetta did with Acuna.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, okay, he's coming back. He hasn't had a plate experience or a plate appearance in almost a year. I'm just going to throw a fastball, get ahead, 460 feet or whatever, And it's like, well, I guess I was mistaken there. I guess he was ready to hit the first pitch. So,
it's so again, but he's a rookie and he's he's young, so we'll see. I mean, that's one thing we do have a lot of in the minors. We do have a lot of live arms, and so I am happy about that. So we shall see. Maybe they can bring up. Maybe there's some guy in the minors they can bring up that can. Pitch.
Well, if they bring Hoeing back, I mean, that shores up the bullpen a lot, So, but look, we said at the beginning of the season, Jack. I mean, this isn't just the 25 guys on the roster now. It's going to be 30 to 35 guys, and it's going to be this back and forth, and guys get hot at a certain time. I mean, even your guys like I remember Tyler Wade when he first got released and came back, and they put him on the major league roster. He got like 5 starts, and he's hitting like 380, and you're like, well, where'd that come from? Like this guy was like if he doesn't bunt for a base hit, he's not gonna get on.
Right.
And so you need those bit players, those guys like that. I will say that to that point though, Jack, I don't know about you, but I'm a little surprised that Iglesias is not getting a few more at bats. I
Yeah,
just feel like they just kind of buried him a little bit, and he gets a start like once every 7 days. But he has played the outfield, and you think, maybe that's the right-handed side, but they did it like one game, I want to say, and he did fine out there. But I get it. We don't always have a place for him to play, but DH him.
That's where we could have said, okay, give Manny a day off, put Iglesias at third, give Bogarts a day off, put him at short, give Cronenworth a day off, let Cronenworth a day off, let them DH, put him at second base, put him in left field. He's money defensively. He's one of our best defensive players. I mean,
I get it. He's not the power guy, but again, we supposedly don't roll. We don't roll that way anyway. So to me, it's like he's kind of like Luis Ariz guy. It's like it's not going to be. I mean, I know Luis has hit 3 home runs, but it's not his forte. He's going to go double down the left field line. He's going to pull it down the first base line. He's going to hit a gap. I don't know. And again, that's where I'm trying not to be the Twitter manager, because I don't know, what the deal is and what the comfort level is from Schilt. Obviously, he's not comfortable enough to say, well, I'm gonna put him in on a regular basis. There's something there. Maybe it's because there's not room for him. Maybe it's like, nah, I like these 9 better, and you know what? Every once in a while, I'll give him a spot start and let him take somebody out off for a day. But
I'm just saying defensively, he's good. But Bogarts, be honest, Bogarts has been playing some pretty good defense.
A solid shortstop. Yeah, he always, he always has though, Jack. It's just people. I don't know if it's people just remembering Tatis and all the the crazy plays he made over there. Of course, they forget the 20-something throwing errors that he made. That the same year.
That's why I said move him in the outfield.
Yeah.
But Bogarts have been solid defensively. He's hit the ball hard, hitting him some bad luck.
Well, Bogarts his average is going up. I mean, he's been on a little bit of a roll here. I'm looking at him up right now, but I could have sworn that Bogarts is hitting pretty good. Lately.
They changed that error to that poor second baseman because they changed it from an error to a hit. That helped Bogarts. Felt bad for that guy, the poor kid. I mean, he helped us win the game, but
he's at 249 now. Again, it's not like he's fantastic, but he's got a .9 WAR. I mean, so unless you've got Perdomo, who's a 2.5 WAR, most of your guys are in the the ones or the where he's at. He's I don't know. I think we've got bigger problems elsewhere. I always say to you and Jay, I'm not paying on the money. So, if you paid for home runs, then you're losing. But if you paid for his leadership, if you played for a shortstop play, it's not too bad. Is there better? Yes. But
the problem is you're never going to shake that he's making $25 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
That's the problem. I mean, if he was making $13 million, it'd be like
I would say that about half the contracts in Major League Baseball every year. Every team's got at least a half a dozen guys that you're going, really? We're paying them that much? Michael brought it up, and I was going to bring it up, but Manny's always been a streak hitter, and he had never had less than 7 home runs in the month of April. He only had 3 coming out, and now all of a sudden, boom, 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 3 home runs. Now nobody's talking about Manny. Oh, now let's focus on Tatis. And if Tatis gets hot, okay, now we'll go back to Bogarts. I think to some people, there's always got to be a problem. There's always got to be somebody that we can pick on that isn't holding his weight or pulling his weight. But
I think I said last week that there was an issue with Tatis's dad, and people are now talking about there's something happened to his dad, and I think he's really close with his dad. So maybe that's it, because he doesn't seem to be the happy-go-lucky Tatis we've seen. And
right
again, and the most frustrating thing to me is beginning of the year, he was not swinging at bad pitches.
Yeah.
And now he's back just woof, woof, woof.
But, Tatis has always been a tinkerer. He's always tinkering with his swing, his stance, everything. But here's the thing that again, I heard Ruben Niebla talk about this, and I've always been impressed by the way he kind of packaged it. He basically said, "I look at the whole package. I don't get caught up in the 1 week stuff and the two. I look at the broad package of what you're doing as a whole." So you go over to Major League Baseball stats, and the number one right fielder in baseball, in the National League, is Fernando Tatis by a large margin.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even close. So, we sit here, we rag on a guy because, he's gone 2 weeks. He's only hit 1 home run. And it's like the guy's still hitting 273. He's got 13 dingers. He's got 28 home runs, 28 RBI, but he hits leadoff, he stole 9 bases. He scored 38 runs. I mean, he's, top 1 or 2 or 3 in almost every category. So, I get it. Expectations are always hard to live up to and everything. And I think that's just it. I think people just still remember what he did. And it's like, yeah, but to expect like there's not going to be adjustments made. People find out what you will swing at. Him and Manny both got that Steve Garvey weakness. You get 2 strikes on him, just throw it low and outside.
But he may
not always get it.
He wasn't doing that in the beginning of the year. It was like we were going, wow, he would have swung at that in the future. Michael says, I was going to say best right fielder in baseball right now would be
Aaron Judge.
I can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody who.
Yeah.
Is Judge playing right field?
I think the other thing is we get caught up, and I know Michael probably can attest to this. Who's the best player, as if it's like it's going to ever be settled. And the bottom line is people are talking about Ohtani, and they were comparing him in May to Corbin Carroll and Fernando Tatis, who at the end of May could be considered the top 3 at the time, and of course he's blown them away. I mean, he's had a great month of May. But then, somebody rightfully so said, well, what about his teammate Freddie Freeman? He's having a pretty good year so far too. And
he's having a great year.
Yeah. How about PCA? How about Suzuki? How about, so everybody's so worried about their player being like the best player in baseball. And guess what? There's really only one. We don't know who that is. And quite frankly, if you ask me, I'll take anybody in the top 30. So, yeah.
I've gotten Ohtani. What is it? I can't do it anymore. I mean, I guess like XM, the Major League Baseball radio. It's like, oh my God, what more can you say? I get it. He's great. He's great. But what more can you say about Ohtani?
But here's the deal.
The stuff.
But here's the deal, though, Jack. If you believe in war, right?
I'm against war.
Okay, but if you believe in the measurement of war, he's 2.8. Fernando's 2.7.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I agree with Michael. I mean, it's not even close to me. I mean, the best player, and I use that word player, is Aaron Judge. He's hitting 391,
he plays the
18
field.
homers, 47 RBIs. He's got a 4.2 WAR. I mean, it's not even close. So, look, would I take Ohtani on our team? Of course, but let's not talk about necessarily what we don't have. We're very, very lucky to have Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill and on and on and on. We have a very good collection of ball players, and we're 8 games over 500 and currently holding one of the playoff spots. So,
and Judge should have signed with the Padres. That was his biggest mistake he's ever made.
He was never going to come here.
But
did you see that social post though? I have to laugh because people won't let it go. So I'll stir the pot. That the Pirates are in town. They just got here.
With
Livy is it Dunn? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Livy Dunn, his girlfriend, who's I guess some social superstar or
She's a
whatever.
she was a gymnast in college, and
Yeah.
she's
But
got
anyway,
a
she
huge
posted a
following.
picture inside of Petco and said she really liked it here. And of course, everybody's like, "Oh, well, that means he must be ready to go to San Diego. I mean, he'd probably drop like he ain't going anywhere." The GM has absolutely said it's not even a part of the conversation.
But happy wife, happy life.
Well, that's what a lot of people were saying. So
yeah, I saw it too, and I was like going,
free agency is still 5 years away, and by then he'll be a $1 billion man.
I'd take him though. I would just but yeah, I saw that. I go, oh, Pittsburgh, San Diego, Pittsburgh, San Diego.
But we'll see. And don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downsize it a whole lot, but it's been 1 year. Let's see after 3 years. Let's see after 4 years. Because young superstars come in, and then I'm not. And well, look at Tatis. Tatis, if he would have kept it at the level that he was at, that first full year that he played and hit 40 home runs or whatever it was,
47, I think.
Everybody's like,
42.
oh my gosh, this guy's just gonna, he's gonna break every record of the book. No, it just doesn't happen that way. Guys get figured out, and he's still an amazing player. The guy can go over and still influence the game, and to me, that's kind of when you start talking about a superstar. And I know Ohtani's on the shelf right now for pitching. So when he comes back and if he pitches and he pitches like he used to, then yes, then he brings both sides and that makes him even more valuable. But you look at these guys, and if they can play solid defense, they were saying on this morning, a perfect example is that PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the heck to think of that guy last year. Why are they so up on this guy? This guy, I think he was hitting $190, and yeah, he's super fast. I'm like, okay, the guy's really fast. There's a guy on who is it? The guy on Florida? No, Miami. We played him, and there's that one super fast guy on there.
Sanchez?
No, not on. It was not Miami, or was it earlier when we played them? Who was that guy? Anyway, that's all. But that's all he could do. He was lightning. He's like supposed to be the fastest guy in the.
I know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember his name.
I can't remember the team.
But give me a complete player. Give me a guy that can hold his own in the outfield. Have a little bit. The old 5-tool thing. And I'll take that over just somebody that can hit $190 and hit 30 home runs. To me, it's more valuable. So
well, defense matters, and that's where, like you said, Aaron Judge plays really good defense. Fernando is amazing defensively.
Yeah.
Merrill's amazing defensively.
Thank you, Oz. Chandler Simpson.
Yeah, yep. That's it.
Yeah.
The Simpsons.
That's what it was. Thank you, Oz, for all that information. Boy, I was going to bug me. I was going to have to look
from
it
the
up
Rays.
The show,
that's right. Yes, the Rays.
When we played Tampa Bay. And
you had Florida. You were.
Yeah,
you
I
were
did.
The right,
I had Florida on the mind. Yeah.
Area. But it's like when people talk. But I was saying about Ohtani. I said the problem with Major League Baseball, and it's been a problem for a long time, is they only talk about players on the Yankees, on the Dodgers, on the Cubs, on the Red Sox. And, it's just like, the problem with baseball is what happens in the World Series. You get Arizona and, I don't know, say Detroit or something like that. You get two, teams that nobody knows anything about. Oh, no one's going to watch the World Series. Then just have 6 teams in. If you don't, Jerry, you're old enough, and I'm pretty close to you. I remember in the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s, we watched the Royals, we watched the Pirates, we watched the Orioles, we watched the Reds, the Oakland A's, because they had great players. And baseball was baseball, and you watched it because you knew all the players. And then free agency, and Charlie Finley was right. Free agency was going to change the way baseball was looked at, but it just I just can't take when they start talking about Ohtani, I switch the channel. I can't do it anymore. I get it. He's a great player.
They're feeding the masses. It's what gets clicks.
I get it.
The bottom line is that it's always been about the bigger cities, and it's more so now because there's more media outlets. There's more ways to get your information than there ever was. And back in 1980 when ESPN came in, that changed the world, because now all of a sudden we were able to see all these other teams. It wasn't nearly as prevalent. You had the game of the week. You might have an occasional, Monday night baseball. I think for a while there,
Yeah.
and that was everybody thought, oh, this is the avenue that's going to give everybody exposure to some of the teams that you don't get to see. Well, as San Diego Padre fan would attest, we were never on the game of the week. We were never on Monday Night Baseball because it's not the draw that Major League Baseball it needs. And what they need is they need advertisers who buy into it. So I think it's short-sighted if we don't sit there and say, well, of course they're going to kowtow to the LA markets. They're going to kowtow to the New York
I get
markets.
it, but
well, you get it, but you still complain about it.
But you look at the
get it means that yes, you
look at the NFL.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who's playing. People are going to watch. Why? Because there's a lot of small market teams that are successful. The Packers, the Steelers, Tampa Bay has a good football team. I mean, you have a lot. Kansas City, one of the best teams in the NFL over the last 5-6 years, because it's a level playing field.
Well, they also win, Jack. And the other thing is what I will tell you, because I am one, fantasy football has changed the NFL. That's why you've got what you've got in the NFL. It draws more fans to fantasy football than anybody can shake a stick at baseball, because it's it's kind of like this one super day event every week. I know there's Thursday night and there's Monday night, but Sunday is like it's just football, and everybody just dives into the betting, to the fantasy football points and who does what and everything. And so in that realm, yeah, they've got a bigger draw to all these different cities. And Major League Baseball don't get that. They've tried to get into it, but I can tell you, it's just so more sporadic and Vegas will tell you that. There's not nearly the betting on baseball as there is on football.
Well, football is it's more enjoyable to bet on football.
Well, and again, that's what draws people now.
Now we're thinking alike, Michael.
There are a lot of football fans that are only football fans. Well, our beloved Chargers back in the day when they were getting ready to move, and my wife said, well, what's that going to do to you? And I said, I got to be honest. And she beat me to it. She goes, because you play fantasy football. I know you like to watch the Chargers, but you're more about the individual players. And it's like, you're right. I root for the Chargers, and I was invested in them, so to speak. But at the end of the day, I wanted my fantasy football team to do well. I always had a struggle when one of my guys was playing the Chargers, but at the same time, it's just like, no, I mean, and she's right. I haven't missed them. I'll be honest with you. I know you don't, but I still root for them. But if they lose, it doesn't didn't feel like it used to, where it felt like somebody had put a dagger in my heart, kind of thing. But bottom line is I root for all the different teams, and especially the one my quarterback's on, because
it's funny.
It means more. And
Michael's
right. Gambling has changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this. I haven't played fantasy football since the Chargers left. But I enjoy football now more just watching it, because
it's true.
I don't have the Chargers going, like you said, dagger in the heart, choking every week and having a terrible owner, who they finally hired Harbaugh. It's like, well, I remember in San Diego we said, why don't we hire Harbaugh? He's coaching this small college here in San Diego. Yep. That would be a good coach, but they didn't do that. But that's okay.
But to your point though, Jack, I mean, if you really get down to it, if you're just a baseball fan or a basketball fan or whatever sport, and you don't have an alliance, you're probably enjoying it more for the pure. I like to watch a good game. I like to watch a good competition. Who does what better and everything. But yeah, if you're into a team like we are with the Padres, and why we have this podcast is. It hurts when they lose. I always want them to win, and I know they can't, but I always want them to win. And when they don't, when they blow a game, is that again? I'm not a death or doom, because they lost. But yeah, you carry that around for you the day, and it kind of makes you aggravate it, and you're like, okay, get it tomorrow. But and it, as a fan, I just always kind of question how we become so tied to teams.
Yeah,
Like
I
we
know.
have nothing to say about it, really. We have nothing to do with making them good. We have nothing to do with what they spend. You know, why do we pay good money to go cheer? I mean, it's just
It's
really kind of
it's
one of those
it's
human things
entertainment.
that I wonder why we do.
Well, I know I was a baseball. My dad was a huge baseball fan. You know that.
Yeah.
And so we would watch about the only game when I was like 3 or 4. I was like that was like a good 3 years before the Padres were even around major. They were minor league, but they weren't major league.
Yeah.
And we'd get the Dodger games. My dad would get the rabbit ears out, and we'd get the game. And
Okay, Jackie, go over and stand and hold one.
yeah, exactly. And then when they play the Giants, I go, "Hey, are they going to fight?" Because the Dodgers and Giants fought a lot. He goes, "That's all. There's a good chance." So we'd sit there and just watch the game, and he'd explain it to me as I was watching it. So I was a fan before we even had a team. Then the Padres came, and obviously a huge fan. But they were so bad for so long. I was still a baseball fan, and so when again, I go back to the '70s. The Oakland A's might have been one of the best teams ever assembled.
Yeah, 70, 71, and 72.
Yeah. Well, no, they won 3 straight World Series.
70, 71, and 72.
No, I think they lost in 71. They lost when did they lose to the Mets? They won 3 World Series in a row.
Yeah. Vida Blue, Reggie Jackson, and
Joe
on and
Rudy,
on.
Catfish
Sal
Hunter,
Bando.
Sal Bando, and Bert Campaneris. But what I'm saying is, and then free agency came, and they, Charlie Finley said, "Screw it. I'm not going to pay these guys money." And we got Raleigh Fingers and Gene Tennis, but and then you had the Big Red Machine, Cincinnati Reds, and it just again Reggie Bars, yeah. Reggie used us to get his contract higher with the Yankees, but I'm just saying, if you want baseball to grow, they have to somehow figure out a way to promote more teams. And there's some great, you have Bobby Witt Jr. on Kansas City. You have Dela Cruz on Cincinnati. There's some really good.
But ultimately, though, Jack, to your point, it's up to the team to make them do it. San Diego was in that position not so long ago, where the first couple of years in 20 and 21, we weren't getting a whole lot of recognition. You kind of have to go. I mean, again, you can't argue the history of the Dodgers. You can't argue the history of the Yankees. Those teams are going to draw because why? Because they're almost always in the playoffs. And that's the only way you're going to get constant attention. And now, in my opinion, the Padres are getting 5,000% more attention than they've ever gotten.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure there's some guy sitting in Seattle right now. It's like, oh my God, can you shut the Padres spigot off? Right.
Well, you know what? Too bad, Seattle.
But I'm just saying though, if it's not your team, then you're jealous or envious of somebody else. LA deserves it, Jack. I hate to tell you, but LA deserves it.
But my problem is, enough. I think Ohtani's a great player, obviously, but they're not adding anything to the. It's just like, oh God, Ohtani again. I listen to when they talk about other players. I go, I can't do Ohtani every 45 minutes. I can't do it. Please talk about somebody else.
I don't know, Jack. I don't know what to tell you. You need to quit listening then, because the bottom line is they deserve it. I cannot deny them that. We had our chance. We had our chance to steal that from them. We had our chance.
Well, we were
now look. I mean, the bottom line is you got to accept it. To their credit, they came and got it. They took it from us. So Michael's right. It's up to the team to promote themselves, and it's up to them to win enough that they can't ignore you. And the Dodgers have won the NL West 13 out of the last 14 years. They've been in the playoffs. They've won. It doesn't matter the reason, though, Jack. See, you're getting down to the semantics of, like, you just don't like it because they do this, they do that. But the bottom line is they are promoting themselves. They are winning.
I don't like them.
I don't like them either. I want to beat the crap out of them, right? But I can't deny the fact of why they talk to them, So
breaking news, Ohtani looks at the camera.
I mean, just look at what happened last year. Now, I won't disagree with you. Last year, we were all upset about the coverage because, it's their home announcers. Oh, Ohtani's up in 3 at-bats. Ohtani's up, in 4 innings. And it just sickened you because you're like, to your point, like, look, there's two teams in here.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's the Colorado Rockies playing, whatever. Give both teams their due when they're playing a game. It shouldn't be a springboard to just get on one team and just talk about them again and again and again. And so that I will agree. But the bottom line is, man, the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Phillies, they've earned that right. I want to see my team become that team, and I think we have. I think we're not negated anymore. We're not. People talk about the Padres, and that's good enough for me. And yeah, I don't like it that they talk about those other teams because I want to talk about my team. But yeah.
Michael says the Rays are competitive year after year, and they do it with peanuts. They're literally playing in a single A field. I get it, but the problem. But how many World Series have they won?
Well, again, I don't think it's always a World Series because the Dodgers proved that point because they won the shortened one and then they won this one. It's their first one since 1989, I think it was.
Yeah.
But again, if you make the playoffs every year,
88.
But
89
if you make the playoffs every year, you're going to get talked about. You're going to get talked about in spring training because you know what, this team makes the playoffs, and it's not always good talk either because a lot of times it's like, well, what do you got to do to get to win the World Series? I mean, that was haunting the Dodgers for years. When are you gonna finally turn one of those playoff runs into a World Series? So Nelson Velasquez, I don't know who that is.
Got power, young work with Victor Rodriguez. Is he in our minor league system?
I'm sorry, Kirsten, I don't know who that is. Yeah.
And Michael stopped buying New Balance because it came fine.
Yeah. But anyway, again, I think the big thing is that you have more ways of exposure now than you've ever had in the game. It's not just TV; it's social media, Twitter and Facebook, and and then you've got, God knows how many sports shows and talk shows on the radio. There's always constant talk about it. So it's kind of hard not to go through a whole day and not hear something about somebody like that. So.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm just saying, me personally, click. There's nothing you can tell me that I don't already know.
Unfortunately, though, there's about 20 million other people that don't click, Jack. So you're just going to have to be.
I don't care. I stopped buying cat treats because they sponsor the Dodgers.
That's too funny, Oz. That's too funny.
Those damn Dodgers. Anyway. I was going to say, though, if we go back in time and look what the Braves did with Ted Turner, he TBS, or was it WTBS then? Whatever it was, the Braves were on TV every single day. Yeah. They became America's
team. Promoted himself.
Yeah, but he had the money to do it. And then the Cubs with WGM, not WGM,
WGN.
They did it also. The problem with the Cubs, they were always day games, and you couldn't watch
some people didn't look at that as a problem. Some people look at that as single focus. Nobody else is playing right now. We always get to the attention.
Yeah, I'm just saying not everyone could watch them because some of us work.
But but if you lived in Chicago, especially, it's like I gotta feel like during a lot of our youth when the Cubs were always playing day games, that I bet you graveyard shifts were the most preferred shift of anybody can have. I get that way. I get to, that way I get to watch my Cubbies. I get home and I take about 5-hour nap.
Cubs lose. Holy cow, the Cubs lose.
Cubs.
All right, let's talk about our picks because I got another thing to do here. Let me look at the schedule. I know we're playing Pittsburgh for 3.
Yeah, and then I believe it's the Dodgers coming into town.
Is it the Dodgers after that? Oh, great. I got to listen about Ohtani every day. Let's see. Let's see where we're at here. Monday. I think we're off on Monday. Nope. It's we're up
San Francisco's first.
San Francisco. Yeah. Then we
play 7 against the Dodgers, 3 against the Giants, and 3 against the Diamondbacks in the next 15 games or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of a make it or break it, kind of thing.
Michael says, calling it now, Cubs versus Padres NLCS 2025. As long as it ends like 84, I'll be happy. Yankees win the World Series. They could. Yankees are playing pretty good ball. Trent Grisham is come back down to earth.
Yeah. But
anyway,
I got to tell you though, man, that 1-2 punch of Max Fried and Carlos Rodon, oof,
yeah,
that's a couple of mean lefties right there, So
former Padre Max Fried.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with health. If you're healthy, that right now, that's the question mark that's kind of hanging over the Padres. You get a little bit worried when pitchers start talking about their arm or their elbow or anything like that. And I'm not a doomsday guy, but if Michael King and Yu Darvish don't get to pitching, for a long time, we're in for a tough road. This is just not a good time for us to lose our ace.
No.
It's not.
And with King, what scares me is it's 15 days, not 10.
Yeah.
I go,
is it 15? I heard that he was just going to miss one start.
It was 15, they 15-day IL. That's what I read. Anyway, so last week you said 5-1, and you were so close. Oh, so close. I said
3-3. Come on. I mean, it wasn't,
I said 4-2, which was what they were.
Yeah, I'm looking up and seeing. Oh, he is in the 15th. All right.
Yeah, that's what scares me more than the 10-day.
Yeah, the radio show, the local radio show, the Padre Hour misled me because they were talking about it like if it's just the one start, because it was retro. So it's actually, I guess it could technically still be just one start because it was retro to his last start. So it still comes out to be closer to 2 starts. But
yeah. Anyway, if it's just something like that, they're not very.
It worries you.
Yeah, I mean, he's money. I mean, he's a great pitcher that we got from the Yankees. But I said 6-0. It could have been 6-0. I mean, that one game with that guy where he was it Eli White. What the hell was he thinking? Yeah. Oh, thank you, Eli.
We did 4-2, and again, let's keep going, man. Win every series.
Beating up on the Braves. So, Jerry, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You want to say 4-2 first before me?
I'm saying 5-1.
Okay.
I'm saying 5-1.
I feel like I should be a tape recorder because I think part of me is just my whole attitude towards any good baseball team is if you can take every series. So if they can win, 2 out of 3 from the Pirates and then 2 out of 3 from the Giants, I'm a happy camper. So
you said 5-1 last week, and you were pretty damn close.
Yeah,
pretty damn close. I
mean, last 6 games have been good. I mean, unfortunately, I was talking to a guy today, one of my baseball friends today, and it's like, for those of you who don't know me very well, I was an analyst at one time in my career, so I did a lot of statistical work. And a lot of times it was budgetary or, how we're doing and things like that. And I would always ask my director, like, well, how do you want it to sound? Do you want it to sound, better than it is? Or do you just want me to lay the cards out and say, this is what it is? And there were times, and it's not even fudging the numbers, but a perfect example is, well, since, May the 4th, the team has gone, 15 and 10, Oh, by the way, if you go back to May 1st, they're 15 and 14, So it's really easy for people to always, like to shine a light on the bad or the good. But when you got these kind of, arbitrary cutoff points, you're just making it sound like you want it to sound. So Padres, a perfect example. The Padres are 8 games over 500, but after the 7-0 start, they're 1 game over 500. So which one do you want to hear?
I want to hear hear 8 games over 500.
Right. And if you're the negative person, you want to say, oh yeah, but look, since, the first 7-0, they're 1 game over 500. That means you get that
on Twitter. I was trolling the Dodgers yesterday, and I said, I don't get it. Tanner Scott was money for the Padres last year, and it was after he blew the. I was just being a jerk, just having some fun. And some guy Padre fan goes, he was not money for the Padres last year. He was not. He didn't say money. He said he was not lights out last year for the Padres. I was like going, I think everybody else got it, but he was really good last year for the Padres.
Well, you can be a hater, or you can be a lover, or you can just be a jerk. Because honestly, you know, no Dodger fans ever going to say anything good about a Padre, and no Padre fans going to say anything good about a Dodger.
Oh, I would say things about Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts. I like that, and I don't hate Ohtani.
Yeah.
I just
Okay,
think
so I'm talking about the 90% of the fans, the ones that just they're haters of the team. They don't want to hear anything about Ohtani. They don't want to hear anything about Ohtani.
Who, me? If you add something new, again, like Ohtani took a dump 2 hours ago. Okay, that's great. That's insightful. Thank you. I'm glad you talked about that for 40 minutes. Okay, but they have bidets in their bathroom, so it's he came out smelling like a rose. Anyway, we'll be back next Thursday. I got to get out of here.
Yeah,
fun
and
time.
maybe Jay will be back. Who knows? You know,
I forgot what he looks like.
Yeah.
But, thanks for Michael, Oz, and Kristen. Who anyone else was in the chat with us?
Yeah.
I'm going to look up that player though that you talked about, Kristen, because I want to know Nelson Velasquez, whatever his name is. But that's that's all we got. Go Yankees this weekend. I'm a big Yankee fan this weekend, and go Padres as always. And we'll be back next week.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Huh? Bye.